The Academy's process of grooming civilians into becoming strong, courageous and erudite subalterns of the Nigerian Armed Forces begins with the placement of advertorials in the print and electronic media to attract eligible Nigerian young males and females who are interested in serving their fatherland in military duties through any of the services of the armed forces, namely the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The application form to be completed by a candidate seeking admission into the Academy is downloaded from its website. The form contains the 8 minimum qualification requirements that must be met by all candidates, both males and females. Among the requirements are that the applicant must be a Nigerian citizen. He or she must be not less than 17 years old and not above 21 years old by the 15th of October of the year when the Academy's course being applied for will commence. However, candidates applying for a commission in the Nigerian Air Force must not be older than 18 years. Minimum height requirements are 1.68 meters for male applicants and 1.50 for female. The academic qualification requirements are the same ones stipulated by the NUC for admission into conventional universities.
Lagos State, Anambra State, Nigerian Defense Academy entrance exam for 64 regular course, which I want to believe all of you here are ready to write. Yes, sir.
Eligible applicants are required to write a qualifying examination which signals the beginning of the selection process to admit new intakes into the academy.
We are going to share the question papers now. You are not to start until when you are told to do so. Is that clear?
The academy's qualifying examination, which is in written format, is in 2 parts. Part 1 is on the use of English language, which is compulsory for all candidates. For Part 2, applicants are to answer questions on some subjects that test their ability to meet the academic requirements for admission into the 3 respective faculties of the academy. Records have shown that applicants who scale the academy's qualifying entrance examination are usually no more than 3% of the total number of individuals seeking admission into the institution, which is usually an average of 40,000. The Academy's qualifying entrance examination is therefore clearly the most competitive into any tertiary institution in Nigeria today.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
The few applicants who pass the qualifying examination are thereafter referred to as candidates. Given their total number, particularly in relation to the available vacancies, their screening must continue to enable the Armed Forces Selection Board select the very best to be admitted into the academy. The screening process is structured to enable the figure to be scaled down to the number the academy can admit. Consequently, candidates who passed the academy's entrance examination are invited to an interview session to further prune down their number. This stage of the screening process lasts 3 weeks, during which the candidates are interviewed in batches.
Where was the admission? 1914, sir.
However, because the academy attracts very brilliant minds, the interview stage still leaves the institution with more qualified candidates than it can absorb. The screening process, therefore, shifts to its next gear. At that level, the shortlisted candidates report to the academy to face an Armed Forces Selection Board (AFSB) comprising representatives drawn from the Ministry of Defense, Defense Headquarters, the 3 services of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and the Nigerian Defense Academy. Like its entrance examination, admission into the academy is indeed highly competitive too, with the ratio being one candidate selected out of every 120 candidates screened. The AFSB screening, which lasts a number of days, is quite elaborate and is conducted in a most thorough and transparent manner. This is to ensure fairness and that only the best of the very best of the candidates who advanced to this stage secure the highly coveted admission into the academy. After the shortlisted candidates have been documented, the AFSB screening begins with the verification of their academic credentials and age. This is handled by a subcommittee of the AFSB. Candidates found to have fallen short of the minimum requirements are eliminated from the selection process. The next hurdle that shortlisted candidates must scale is a comprehensive medical test. Virtually all the parameters that are necessary to determine the true state of an individual's general health and medical condition are applied. They include comprehensive blood work to determine the state of the vital organs of each candidate and whether he or she is grappling with health issues that could make the candidate unsuitable for the physical and mental rigors of military training. Electrocardiogram, ECG, to determine the status of the heart function of each candidate and whether his or her heart is strong enough to endure the sometimes daunting physical challenges of military training. Blood pressure check, evaluation of the state of their vision, and dental examination. Other medical evaluations that the candidates undergo are chest X-ray and physical checks such as body mass index (BMI), which is a measurement of an individual's height in relation to their weight.
Expand your chest.
Only candidates who have been certified medically fit proceed to the next stage of the selection process.
2549 Adebayo A. Sadiq.
Again, the dropped candidates are informed that should they be interested in knowing the medical condition that led to their being eliminated from the screening process, the AFSB would oblige them the information. And that will be done in strict confidentiality too. That again underlines the fairness of the Academy's officer cadets admission process. As further proof of its thorough nature, the screening process to select shortlisted candidates for admission into the Academy does not end with their medical evaluation. Next is a series of physical fitness tests, beginning with a 3.2-kilometer race that must be completed in a maximum of 15 minutes. Failure to meet the time results in disqualification. Once again, the candidates are admonished to refrain from exerting themselves beyond their respective natural limits of endurance and also made to realize the dangers of ignoring this piece of invaluable advice.
Don't stretch yourself to the point at which your heart or your lungs will fail you.
After they have been documented, the candidates are assembled at the starting point of the race. The 3.2-kilometer race is then flagged off at the blast of a whistle, with the female candidates given a head start as a concession to the agenda. Here is the finish point of the 3.2-kilometer race. As the candidates sprint towards and into this rendezvous, military personnel manning the gates are under strict instructions to shut them on the dot of 15 minutes from the start of the race. As the expiry of the time allowed for the 3.2-kilometer race, the gate to the ground is shut, and those who failed to make it to the finish point within that limit are eliminated. For some, The pain of their near miss is too excruciating to bear.
Don't take it as if you have lost everything in life. It's not like that. First time is always the best.
The arduous qualifying race is over, but not so the screening exercise. Since the true test of a person's physical fitness lies beyond demonstrating their ability to run a race within a stipulated time, the candidates who scaled the 3.2-kilometer race stage of the screening will undergo yet another round of physical fitness tests. This time, they will cross some obstacles of varying dimensions which they must negotiate through different approved methods, both individually and in groups. During this stage of the exercise, inability to negotiate an obstacle smoothly or failure to comply with the don'ts of doing so, such as dropping or landing in prohibited areas, or failure to refrain from touching prohibited colors, could lead to the disqualification of a candidate, depending on the total number of infractions committed. Unlike the ones that candidates do individually, the obstacle crossings done in groups usually present propositions that are daunting and seem near impossible to achieve, just like most critical military tasks. The objective here is to test the character and leadership qualities of the candidates and their ability to successfully work together as a team to tackle difficult tasks. Usually, by the end of the obstacle crossing stage of the AFSB screening, the number of remaining candidates would have reduced sharply. Even so, the number left is still often more than what the Academy can admit. So, the screening continues, this time with a fresh round of written tests and oral interviews. At the end of the AFSB screening, the waiting game begins for candidates who made it up to the very end of the selection process, as they can only pray and keep hope alive, pending when they receive notification from the Academy that they have either been offered admission to enroll at the institution or had been dropped.
Hey,